Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. I'm Mark Graban, a senior advisor with KaiNexus, and today we're doing a quick preview of our next webinar. It is coming up March 21st, 1 o'clock Eastern. It's titled Developing Coaching Skills, Mine, Yours, Ours. You can register for that by going to kainexus.com/webinars or look for a link in the show notes or the description to go right there. It's going to be presented by Tracy Defoe, and we're joined by Tracy today for the preview. So Tracy, how are you?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this preview of our webinar.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for the webinar. Coaching is such an important topic that I know people are really going to be interested in, and a lot to learn from you and your ongoing experiences. But, first off, with the webinar, I'll introduce you, but when we do the preview, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Tracy Defoe. I'm an adult educator turned coach, and I've been coaching pretty much, I don't know, maybe a dozen years or so, particularly Kata coaching.
Mhm.
And some of you might know me as one of the co-founders of Kata Girl Geeks, which is a worldwide group of women helping women learn to do Kata coaching and learn scientific thinking. And then I'm also the co-founder of a group called Kata School Cascadia here on the Pacific Coast. And through those two groups, not only do I see a lot of people who are really skilled and able coaches, but I also meet lots and lots of people who are learning to coach. And so through those experiences of meeting people, perhaps who are all by themselves, trying to learn in isolation, everybody's being asked as a manager or a leader to be more coaching oriented rather than telling people what to do oriented.
Mhm.
So I'll be sharing what I've learned about trying to become a coach by yourself. So how to track or monitor or even know how you're coaching. A little bit about what I do myself and what you might want to do in terms of that. And then the hours is the one I'm excited about because that's about finding your community, joining a community,
Mhm.
getting people to perhaps second coach you or watch you coach and give you feedback. And then talk a little bit. So that's a lot of how. We might also talk a little
Mhm.
bit about why and what some of the benefits might be for you. Um, a lot of people comment on what a relief it is to not have to know everything and to be
Uh,
able to take more of a coaching stance.
and
So
and
that's,
and 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 that could be a matter of applying whichever framework or language you want to use, a Kata approach, a
yep,
PDSA approach, an
yes,
experimental approach, learning,
yep.
planning, doing,
There's that.
studying, and adjusting your coaching. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that some people use a grow model, like there's all kinds of different models, but I think there's an underlying pattern to a lot of those. There are some distant differences too, but you have an objective in mind in a way that you want to approach something. And basically you're asking for new behaviors from yourself. And
Hmm.
so we'll just talk about how to notice when you fall from your ideal and when you're moving that way.
Hmm.
And maybe we'll talk a little bit about how people document and keep track.
Hmm. Okay.
And like I said, why you might want to do that.
Hmm. So maybe a couple follow-up questions. You gave us, some of the overview of the webinar session. A couple of the what's that people might not know, even though Kata has become, I think, pretty widely known and popular. If somebody's really new to it or they've barely heard of it, how would you summarize? Okay, well, what is the Kata approach?
Well, there's two parts. I always say it's a duo,
Mhm.
which for me is like a foodie term, but anyway, they come together.
It's like
So
two different types of salmon together on a
yes,
plate
that's
you've
right.
made.
One is
Okay.
sashimi and one is barbecued. That's right. But there's two sides to the kata approach, and it's really important to know that in this particular coaching, our aim is to be more scientific in our thinking and to be more independently problem solvers, really. So there's a four-step process for being the improver, and there's a process that's, how many steps it is, depends on who you ask, but there's also a complementary process for being a coach.
Hmm.
And so the improvement kata runs, like you said, a kind of plan, do, study, adjust kind of center gear. And then
Mhm.
around that, there's a way to visually and in data analyze your current condition and where you want to be next on your way to a bigger challenge. And the role of the coach there is to ask the questions. It's very Socratic kind of, we do some teaching, we do some modeling, of course, but your idea is that you lead through questions. And what we're looking for is learning. So there's quite an emphasis on whether or not your last step yielded results that you expected. What did you learn? And we celebrate the learning. And that's quite liberating for people to not have to hit a home run every time they come up to the plate.
Yeah.
It's okay to learn. Yeah. In fact, it's great if you can write down what you learned. That's a win.
Because anytime we're learning or trying something new, you almost have to expect to make mistakes and maybe be kind of kind to yourself when that happens then, right?
Yeah, I had I mostly am second coaching right now, and one of the women who's being the learner improver in a group said she made one of her learnings was there's a lot more empathy and kindness in this than you get from reading the book. And I thought, okay, that's such a win for us that she not only feels supported as a learner, but that she's getting that we're trying to be empathetic, which is, sometimes a new stance for somebody in their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one final, maybe kind of quick, fun question for those who are watching on video. Over your shoulder, the different characters there. One of them is a Yeti. I'm kind of half remembering a story, so I was going to ask you to share about the
well,
Yeti.
Kata School Cascadia, we have a mascot who's called I Don't Know Yeti, and this is the inexpensive plush version of the I Don't Know Yeti. And it comes from a conversation we were having one day in our Friday coaches Zoom call, where we just get together on Fridays and talk about coaching and our challenges and stuff. And we were talking about the power of the word yet. There's a couple books about yet, and somebody was saying that their kid's teacher was teaching their child to say, I don't know yet. And it's just such a liberating mindset to think, I don't know yet, but I can learn. I don't know yet, but I can find out. I don't know yet, but I'll try. Yeah. And so I keep we call this one the baby Yeti. So the thing, we had originally handmade a bunch, but this is a less than $20 Yeti.
Yeah. And you put a pin on it. Yeah.
Yeah. We just give you the pin. And then this is actually standing in as the coach right now. The puffin. But I think it's really important, first of all, to have fun with that. Like that for us, it's a lot of fun. But also just to remember that what we're after is to extend the edge of what we know, which means we expect to not know. And so many people are used to applying tools or working like safely within what's worked for them before. And I think being coached to go a little bit outside your comfort zone is where the real benefit happens. It's where really benefit happens. So these are the mascots of Kata School Cascadia. Yeah.
Well, good. Thank you for sharing that. They're going to be there for you for some moral support, I'm sure. So
yeah, I'll leave them there for sure. They mostly live on this printer to kind of give some foreground to the bookcase.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the webinar that you haven't presented yet, but we could.
Yes. But we'll see it. We'll see you on March 21st.
Yes, March 21st, 1:00 Eastern. Again, to be presented by Tracy Defoe, who joined us here today. Developing coaching skills, mine, yours, ours. Go to KaiNexus.com/webinars, or you can look for a link in the show notes. If you're watching or listening to this preview after March 21st, the recording of the session will be available later that day. So, Tracy, thanks again in advance for the webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Mark.